Hey folks, welcome back to our Dice Tower preview. I'm Mark, and today we're taking a look at Climate Crisis. Climate Crisis is brought to you by Nerd Games. It's for 4 to 6 players, ages 9 and up, and games range anywhere from 60 to 75 minutes. The year is 2020. The almost 8 billion people on the planet face a threat of their own making, as climate change seeks to wreak havoc across the globe. A multifunctioning team from across the world is tasked with trying to solve our climate crisis. Players must work collaboratively to save the world from climate change. There's a tricky balance here between moving to renewable energy, recycling, population, staying alive, and keeping enough energy to keep going. The goal is to maximize world population, stay alive, and achieve environmental sustainability. Now, the main objective of the game is to save the planet and solve the climate crisis. To do this, the players need to navigate across the world and find the scientific teams scattered around it. They must bring themselves and the scientific teams all together into one location before the planet is overpolluted and CO2 levels have reached the point of no return. So, you must work together to help solve this crisis. Now, the game is won, again, once all the scientific teams and player tokens have successfully ended on the same unpolluted tile location on the board. Only then will the planet be saved, with the scientific teams working together to build the solutions to our climate crisis. The game is lost if all pollution tokens have been placed on the board, or CO2 levels reach 600 ppm, or the population is reduced to 0. The planet is then doomed and the game is over. All right, just a quick look at setup. You have the main board, and on this board you'll be placing tiles. These tiles represent the planet. Some of the tiles are going to start face up, and it's clearly defined on the board which ones do and where to place them. And then the rest of the tiles will be shuffled up and placed face down randomly. And then each player is going to receive a character card and the corresponding pawn in that color. You'll see that the board has a grid pattern. You have A through F and 1 through 6. You're going to take the colored dice and roll them to determine where your starting position is on the board. And you'll set up the different levels on the board. You have energy, water, food, population, and the greenhouse gas levels. Now, there is some variance here in like energy and the greenhouse level based on the player count in the game, but it's all clearly marked on the board and easy to follow. And you'll set up the climate change cards as well as the scientific discovery cards, shuffling each of those decks. And there are obviously your scientist meeples that you're looking for. And it's important to note for that win condition that you do find the number of scientists equal to the number of players. And then you have your pollution tokens. You're going to be dealing with these a lot. You have to get rid of them throughout the game. But again, if all of these tokens end up on the board, then you're going to lose. And there's a lot of them, so that's a lot of pollution. It's definitely a battle, a race as you go. And then finally, you have the excess planet tiles. You will be accessing these throughout the game, so you want to keep them close by because there are times that areas get so polluted that you have to swap them out, or you've enhanced them as one of the characters, things like that. So you want to keep these available for all players. So on your turn, you will take up to 4 actions. And then you have an end of turn phase, and it'll go around the table this way. And once all the players have gone, then you'll move to an end of round phase. All right, so let's take a look at the actions you can perform. A couple important notes about actions. First and foremost, on your turn, you can ever only perform 4 actions. Secondly, some actions require that you spend energy, but not all of them. And this energy pool is collective to everyone at the table, so you want to keep that in mind. And obviously, if you run out, you can't perform certain actions. But it does renew as long as you have certain tiles in play that are face up. We'll take a look at that in a minute. But the thing is, one of the big things you're doing is discovery. You're moving to a tile, or you're already on a tile that's face down, and as long as there's no pollution on it, you can flip it over. And then you're drawing scientific advancement cards. So the sought after card here is the scientific team discovery. You're looking for scientists in the world to help you with this problem. And hopefully, eventually, you're gathering all the scientists into one place with all the players. And that's how you're going to win the game. So this is really crucial to find enough of these. You have to find, again, enough of them that match the number of players in the game. And you'll roll the dice and place it out in the world. Now, there's all kinds of other cards here that are going to help you throughout the game. Now, I mentioned earlier that some tiles might get swapped in and out. Well, if you find the wind generator, then you're going to swap a mountainous area with the wind generator, and you'll find the tile and swap them appropriately. But this card will require that you burn an action. So that's another way to burn actions, is to use these different scientific advancements. So keep that in mind. But in this particular one, it doesn't require that you spend any energy to do it, which is really nice. But there's a whole bunch of other cards here that can help you and will help you throughout the game, like a recycling facility, helping you deal with all this pollution. And again, that's important to note. If you're on a tile that you're going to flip over, it can't have pollution on it. You got to deal with the pollution first. So another possible action is dealing with this pollution. So if you are on a tile or even have an adjacent tile with pollution, you can spend one action and one energy to remove one of those tokens. Now, sometimes pollution gets so bad that it's stacked up 3 or higher. And if it is higher than 3, then it's going to cost you additional energy. It costs 2 to deal with the pollution on that tile. So keep that in mind. You don't want stuff to get out of control too fast as you deal with pollution. And then of course, moving is going to cost you energy and actions as well. And you can only move orthogonal. So, and you can't move through areas that have stacks of 4 or higher in pollution. So you have to stop and you have to deal with it at that point. Now you can also do a fast travel, which is going to cost you 3 actions, 5 energy, but it allows you to move up to 4 spaces, which can be crucial, specifically if you have a scientist in hand, which brings us to another action. If you're in a tile with a scientist, picking that scientist up to travel with you is 1 action. And of course, each of the characters have their own special ability, which this is another possible action you can perform in your turn. Now, they all have a lot of different things they can do, and it's really interesting how when the different teams come together and how you can work together with their special abilities. But let's take a look at one. We've got the transporter here, and he's the only one, or she's the only one, that can allow you to move diagonal and also pick up others and take them with you. A great way to pull everyone together at that end game. So all these characters have very interesting abilities, and I really like the synergy it creates, but it'll tell you on the card that it's an action and what the energy cost, if there is any. Then after you've completed your 4 actions, you have to draw a climate change card. These cards are usually bad, not all of them, but in general, they're not going to help you so much. In the case of the algae outbreak, oh yeah, you have to add more pollution to the board by rolling the dice and so forth. And also, if that pollution happens to land on crops or water, then you have to convert that area to a swamp, basically making it unusable for resources that you might critically need. So those are things to keep in mind, but yeah, you have to draw these cards. It's kind of like an event that happens to everyone, but you do it at the end of each player's turn. So after all the players have taken their turn, then you move to the end of round phase, which we're going to see what the climate change impact is on our world. So the first thing you're looking at is all the tiles that are exposed. You're looking to find the energy, food, and water totals. So you're looking for all those numbers, and you're going to calculate your score and adjust your resources appropriately on the sliders. Then you look at your population and compare that against food and water. You're looking at the lowest value between food and water though. And if the population is higher, then it will move down. But if the population is lower, it will move up. And if it's at the same value as the lowest, then nothing changes. So based on that population total, that's the number of pollution tokens that you have to put back out into the world. You'll take the dice, roll it, and place those tokens appropriately. Now there's also localized pollution going on. For dairy farms, there's 2 tokens, and for coal factories, there's 3. And the way these tokens get placed is starting at the top and moving in a clockwise motion around those particular areas. But if there's already pollution there, then you skip it and move to the next spot that doesn't have it. It is localized, and if it's totally surrounded in pollution, then you're placing additional pollution in spots that have the least. And finally, you'll be moving up the CO2 levels by 1. And why that track is important is because at the end of turn phase, when you draw the climate change cards, well, that track will determine how many of those cards you have to draw. Oof, it can be rough later in the game. Now, this will go round and round this way until either you've lost because there's too much pollution, or the fact that you've pulled all the scientists together and you've come up with a solution to win the game. All right, folks, just a reminder once again, this has been a Dice Tower paid preview, and everything you've seen here has been in prototype form. So keep a close eye on the campaign for any changes that still may occur. Now, with that said, this game has that race element to it, that high pressure, tension. You've got to deal with things fast and get it done. And you really do have to work together using your special abilities of all your different characters and those actions to do the best outcome. If you don't discuss things up front, you're gonna not do well in this game. You have to be actively working together, which I like cooperative games quite a bit. But ultimately, folks, if this looks like something that would be of interest to you, I'm sure they'd appreciate your support. So I think that's it for me, and until next time, we'll see you at the table.